Hi. So I came in a little early to give you a chance to get organized around coming to the meditation today. We're not going to officially start for another 4 minutes, but I wanted to invite you in and let you know what we're doing today in case you didn't see the notification. This is the third week I've been experimenting with doing a live invitation to guided meditation with the Soul Caller Sanctuary, members of our circle. I tried it on Zoom for 2 weeks and I didn't love it there. This isn't meant to be come into a Zoom room and have to put on your best face and dress up your background. This is meant to be a Sunday morning meditative, do it, come inside your own heart, inside your own space, maybe with your own cup of coffee, and just sit together in the intention of a circle, of a circle of energy that circles all the way around the world. We have members in this group from Australia, Austria, England, all over Europe, people from South America, pretty much every continent is represented in this circle. And so I wanted to make sure that there's a way that we can connect in real time. So even if you're watching this by recording, you're with us in the circle. So this is my sort of pre-meditation introduction. I wanted you to see me. I wanted you to hear my voice, to feel invited in, to know that I cannot see you, but you can see me. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and settle your nervous system and come for a guided journey into our soul caller imaginal world, where I'll invite you into the tent to sit around the campfire. Maybe you'll be met by a guide or two, maybe an angel. Your soul friends from this circle will be there, and maybe some from your everyday life, your outside the circle life. We don't know who's going to show up in the meditation space, the meditative imaginal space where this work occurs. The first step is always to settle the body, settle the nervous system, using the breath, using gentle movement, if that's what you need, rolling the head, settling into your seat, and then coming deeper inside, eyes closed, listening to my voice, following my voice as I lead you through the soul caller landscape. So whatever time you join, this is fine. You can leave comments as I'm working. I won't see them till after. What else can I tell you? We're going to start officially now. So I welcome you to it's exactly noon Eastern time where I live. I welcome you to our Sunday sanctuary guided meditation. Tomorrow, I think at about 7 p.m. is the official full moon. So we're very close. I don't know if you looked up into the sky where you are and noticed. The moon is quite full already last night. And last week, besides being that second phase of the waxing or expanding moon, was also the holiest week in the Jewish calendar, the week between Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when Jewish people from all over the world either go to synagogue to offer atonement. And I want to talk about atonement a little bit with you as part of this full moon opening meditation that I'm going to offer you, because in the Havara, which means sort of a group traveling outside a synagogue, group of Jewish community that I'm part of, we don't talk about sin. We don't strike ourselves as others might during this. We're not punishing ourselves for being sinful. We're asking God to help us come to a place where the things that we could have done but didn't do don't weigh so heavily on our hearts, where the things we did do but wish we hadn't done can be released. The atonement that we're talking about during this season in the Jewish tradition isn't about I've sinned, I'm bad, punish me. It's about I was out of alignment. I made an error. I perhaps was less in the fullness of who I am than I wish to be. And we ask God to help us to be better next time. This is really a time where we're asking for forgiveness of ourselves, because it's not God who holds these things against us in the coming days. It's us. So how do I come to a place where, with the support of the divine, whether we believe in God, whether we believe in Mary, whether we believe in the universe, a kind of quantum, everything, everywhere, force of love, right? Whatever our sense of what the divine is, how do we ask that ordering principle, that presence to support us as we do our own self-forgiveness work and come into the fullness, so that we can open into the fullness of our own heart. So for me this week was about, more than anything else, releasing the idea that I have to be bigger, better, louder, flashier, smarter, more educated, more anything than I already am. This was the week when I went into my own spiritual community and sat together and asked for support with atonement. This is when my heart opened to the realization that I don't allow myself to just be okay as I am. That I'm always telling this story. This could be better. I could be thinner. I could be younger. This could be fixed. How do I let go of that, God? I asked. So as we do this guided meditation, I invite you into that conversation with me. I also invite you into the fullness of expression. I posted a video in our sanctuary group, which you may have seen there, about the first rehearsal of The Lion King, now that Broadway is back, how it looks when a cast of, it looks like 100 people come together and reestablish their connection to this beautiful effort that they put on the stage for years, on the Broadway stage, after being separated from that work for 18 months. Right? Broadway's been closed for a long time because of the quarantine. And they come back to the rehearsal table, and the first table read for a musical, apparently, is you sit down and sing through the show, sitting down. And the reason I posted it was because, for me, every time I watch it, I've watched it 3 times now, there is this uprising of joy. But there's also this acknowledgement that the people sitting at that table, the woman singing the lead role, are in a grief process. They're in a releasing of pain process. They need to let go of what the last 18 months have been like in order to let the work move through them again. And you can watch her go through that process as the lead singer establishes her role again right at the table. And you can also see Julie Taymor, the director, choreographer, I think, who designed all the staging and beautiful costumes of The Lion King. You can see how moved she is during this rehearsal as well. It's very moving. Anyway, my question to you is, this day before the full moon, what might allow me to live inside of that kind of creative fullness, to live out of that place? What do I need? And you could see maybe where these themes of atonement, of holding myself back, not being as much. And again, here I'm catching myself, even right in front of you. It's not that I'm not as much as I could be, right? Because there's that little niggly thought again that I should be better than I am. How might I release all the ideas about how I have to be better before I can allow the fullness of my heart force, my big love, my generosity, my gift to the world to flow out, right? In all the places where I'm holding back, how might I soften and open? So I invite you now, take a deep breath with me, and let's go into the Soul Caller Sanctuary tent together, and close your eyes. Settle your nervous system. I'll lead you through this, and come fully into the body, into presence with yourself for this next 20 or 30-minute meditation. Take a nice deep breath in, and as you exhale, let your body relax. Let the exhale be a blowing out of any kind of holding, clenching, contraction. Imagine that with the inhale, you expand. With the exhale, you release, and you become more and more empty inside. It's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? We're not trying to fill with anything. We're not trying to fill with light. We're not trying to fill with power or wisdom. We're trying to become empty inside. Inhale and exhale on your own as I'm describing this. We're trying to be, in a way, like the moon, empty when the moon is new in about 2 weeks, and filling with breath, with life force, with prana, and easily exhaling from fullness back to emptiness, back to new moon. We can imagine that the moon, as it goes through its cycles, is also breathing light. You want to imagine the moon as you inhale. Imagine that, like the moon, you're filling with light, and as you exhale, you're emptying of light, as you empty of breath, becoming full on the inhale, full and radiant like the moon, and exhaling and allowing all of that to leave. And as you inhale, imagine that your heart is the moon, and feel it filling with light. And as you exhale, your heart is the moon, releasing light. Inhale, fill with light, become the moon. Imagine the moon sitting at the center of your own body, and exhaling, releasing that light. And do this a couple of breaths on your own, inhaling to the center of your own heart, exhaling from the center of your heart. And this next time, as you inhale, imagine that moon at the center of your heart, that heart moon expanding out around you. Inhale it full, out around you, about arm's length. And exhale it, drawing in back to the center, that smaller moon, the center of your heart, just as radiant, and opening so that you're inside the moon. And exhaling back to the center of your own heart. And exhaling. And this time, as you inhale, let the moon at your heart stay there and still radiate outward. So now you have a full radiant moon around you and glowing at the center of your heart. Why is it important to do this? We're building the imaginal skills. We're building your ability to see, sense, and feel energy move in the imaginal realm, to build images that move and create effects in the body and in the mind and in the heart just because we imagine them. That's why we do this. And also to settle the nervous system. And come to a place where you are holding a full radiant moon at the center of your heart, and also a wider moon radiating all around your body like an egg, holding you at its center, you at the center of your own heart, radiant moon glowing outward. And from there, release all of these images and just breathe one more time in and out. And now imagine that you're coming into the middle, you're just appearing in the middle of a field of wildflowers and golden grass and green grass. There's a gentle breeze blowing through this field, and you can feel it on your skin. You can feel it, and you can see it moving the grass. And begin to walk through the grass and look around and notice the wildflowers and notice the smell, the scent of the grass as you step on it, and it releases that grassy outdoor scent, that freshness. And inhale that scent and feel the sun gently beaming down on the top of your head as you walk through the field. And imagine now that just ahead, in the middle of the field, there's a rise, becomes a hill, and walk toward that hill. And notice at the top of the hill, there's a white tent sitting at the top of the hill, and it's glowing like a lantern lit from within. That's our sanctuary tent, and it's lit from within by our campfire. Walk toward that tent. And when you get to the top of the hill, notice that others are arriving from all over, from all different directions. They're coming up the hill from all around and converging there at that entrance. And each of you is greeted by the guardian. There's a guardian there, not a gatekeeper, not meant to keep you out, meant to welcome you and to guard this threshold space. He asks that you take off your shoes. The guardian takes your shoes and places them in a basket with your name for safekeeping, puts them on a shelf, and before you go inside, the guardian asks that you release any concerns, worries, frustrations, anything at all, any heaviness that you've carried with you toward the sanctuary today. Release it from your shoulders like a silk robe. Let it fall to the floor at your feet. The guardian picks this up and puts it with your shoes. The guardian will keep that safe for you as well. And you can pick it up on your way out if you want to, but you don't have to. It's safe with the guardian. And now come to the entrance of the tent. And just before you step in, take a breath and take a moment. As you cross this threshold, you are stepping into sacred space, stepping onto sacred ground. Come inside, take that step across that threshold, enter our sanctuary tent, look around, notice the campfire right in front of you at the center of the tent and comfortable seating all around it. Notice to the side of the entrance there's a well. Come to the well. Come to the well and find your cup and dip your cup in the cool, clear water. This water is infinitely sourced and it can quench all thirst. Physical, bodily thirst. Drink deeply. Allow this water to pour through your body, quenching every cell with pure, clear water. It can quench spiritual thirst, emotional thirst. What does your emotional body need today? Drink deeply. Activate the prayer of drinking as you request the sort of support your emotional body needs. Drink like a prayer. What does your mind need? Your curiosity, stimulation, puzzles to solve, conversation, interesting new challenges. The mind is so curious. Quench the thirst of the mind for adventure, for engagement, and of course, the thirst of the heart for connection, for love. Drink now to the soul's thirst. What does your soul need? The soul is thirsty for meaning, for engagement with things that matter. The soul is interested in service to the whole, to the wholeness. Let your drinking be a prayer for that kind of engagement. And when you've drunk all you need, set your cup on the well. Find your place in the circle. Where would you like to sit today? The fire is bright. We're all gathering around. Do you want to sit near me? Is there a special friend you'd like to sit beside? Notice as you watch everyone coming into their place in the circle, which place calls to you? Is it the same place you always go? Or a new spot? Notice how you feel about that. Notice anything you want to notice about that. Make sure your seat is comfortable. Today I'm drawn toward a red velvet cushion that's on the floor. You may feel like sitting in a chair or stretching out on a chaise lounge. It's up to you. Find your place in the circle. Sink into the support of that seat. And look around the fire. Look around at the others in the circle. Notice You may not be able to see the exact faces of the people around you, but notice that behind every member of the circle who's assembled with you, there are presences who've arrived to support them, ancestors, angels, spirit guides, maybe animals. There may be an animal sitting beside someone in the circle. Notice what you notice. Allow yourself to notice anything at all. Nothing is silly, nothing is insubstantial. Don't push it away. Just let it be there, whatever you see. And also what you don't see. It's okay. What do you sense? What do you hear? Who's here with us in the circle? And imagine as you're noticing the guides who've assembled with the others in the circle behind them, beside them, the other people in the circle are noticing your guides behind you. And allow their noticing of your guides to make your guides more real to you, more palpable. Often having other people's eyes on something that we can't quite imagine makes it more real for us. Allow that to happen for you. Allow the guides, ancestors, angels, or even I'm getting the sense that in the circle today there are wisdom keepers, people that our society has honored as wisdom tellers through the years. People like Einstein, Carl Jung, I'm thinking of. Who's here with us? Possible, it is possible for those presences, now that they've left their bodily form, to join us in our circle in this way. Just notice who's here. If you want to take a moment and make a note of who's here with you, by all means do that. And then we'll do a short guided meditation into the expansion that's asking to expand inside of you, through you, at this time. I said earlier that for me, atonement meant allowing myself to live the fullness of what's asking to live through me. What's asking to live through you at this time? What radiance is moving from inside, asking to be allowed to move out? Some sort of energy asking to express itself more fully, even if it feels awkward at first, even if it feels, if you feel uncertain or uncomfortable. Just notice if there's something that's trying to move up and through you. And what's moving around you, asking to be allowed in? Other people may be asking for more relationship or less from you. Are you being asked to take a step back or take a step forward in a relationship? You can feel and sense this. Notice it. Allow it to rise. It doesn't have to rise in words. You may see an image of yourself moving toward a door. In fact, imagine that you were moving toward a door, and the door was the invitation to the next part of your work, your relationships, your expansion, your unfolding. Behind that door is a path. Where might it lead? Imagine you might open that door and see what's behind it. What's behind it? You may not feel like opening that door. That's okay. Just notice that. Everything we notice matters. It's all guidance. It's all good. Feeling unwilling to move is guidance, not self-sabotage, not something wrong with me. That may be what's emerging at this time. A great big no. I don't want to finish that project anymore. I don't want to go back to that office. These things emerge too. These things are also expressions of the fullness of who you are. So just softly notice what's asking to emerge, or we can use this sense of radiance that we've been cultivating today, of what radiance wants to radiate outward from the center of my heart. How do I want to expand my energy outward? We're asking this question because of the full moon. We're at that part of the moon cycle that supports this kind of question. Radiance, fullness. Know that next week we begin working with letting go, what's no longer needed. So notice if what's radiating and expanding now is that sense of no, or that sense that when we empty, something new wants to come in and fill us. And we've been so full of what we no longer need that that new energy can't find a resting place to establish itself. Begin to notice where you need more space to establish the fullness of who you are. Because next week we're going to be working with letting go. What might you let go of? So I'm just planting the seed of that next step as we notice our own fullness. And I'm just going to let you sit and notice what is asking to open, to move, to expand, to grow for about a minute in silence. Listen and feel and sense into what's here. It may come as words, music, a feeling in the body, a color. One of our soul callers sometimes gets a list, a grocery list. That's okay too. Whatever comes is okay. Guidance speaks in all kinds of different languages, and they're always custom made for you, the best way for you to hear. So, come back to the breath now, and exhale. Bring your attention back to the breath, back to the center of your own heart. In fact, put your hand at the center of your heart. As you inhale, feel your hand rising. As you exhale, feel your hand falling, moved by the gentle rhythm of your own breath. And before we go, take an inner snapshot of this sense of quiet peace that you've conjured in the last few minutes, just by breathing and imagining, just by listening to the guidance that is speaking through you and to you. Just take an inner snapshot. What does it feel like in your body right now? This sense of centered calm. Maybe you hear a sound. I hear a gentle music in my right ear. And before we come back to normal consciousness, ask for a word or a symbol or an image or a physical sensation, just to let it bubble up, to remind you of this feeling and of this work we just did with expansion, with filling, with light. And this work we just did with asking for radiance, asking what wants to radiate. And take another grounding breath and come back to normal consciousness and make any notes that you'd like to make about what you heard, what you saw, allowing that anything you saw, even if it didn't seem related to what I was asking, might be guidance, might be a symbol. And by all means, listen for that symbol, that image. Just let it float to you, that word, that song. Guidance comes in so many different ways. And the more open, the more willing we are to listen for guidance, the more we'll sense its presence, and the closer it will come. And the more support we'll feel from that. So as you're making your notes, I'll just add a few comments about this week. Also, I invite your comments please share your experience. And if you're listening by recording, I encourage you to share also. This is an ongoing conversation. You can watch this video all week, and you're invited to share your response no matter when you watch. I love to hear from you. I love to see the different guidance that's received. And often your guidance may not make sense to you, but it might make sense to someone else. And in this group, we really support one another. So if you have a question like, hey, I asked for a sign and I got an egg, what could that mean? Or I asked for a sign and I saw a chipmunk, what? So we don't know. I remember when I was first learning to ask for and receive signs, I saw a Ferris wheel in the middle of a roller coaster. I'm being reminded to say, in the middle of an amusement park. What could that possibly have to do with me? And someone, when I shared the question, someone in the group I was in at that time, I was about 30 years old, was quite a while ago, someone said, hey, that means a lot to me. And when they shared what it meant to them, I was able to make a connection that was helpful to my own guidance. So sometimes in the circle, your imagery becomes someone else's guidance, and their response to your imagery becomes yours. Allow yourself to be wisdom keepers for each other as well. So I will be here now for the next 15 minutes or so before I meet with my one circle group. That's a separate group that I have. We meet twice a week. We meet right after this call to discuss the meditation. We meet for about an hour at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and we meet on Wednesdays to do soul color lab work, which is journeying and journaling, and we do some deeper work. If you're interested in that, let me know. But I'll be here for the next 15 minutes watching the comments, and of course I check in every day. So if you're watching by recording, you'll get a response from me, I promise. Is there anything else that I need to tell you? I'm just checking my list in my head. One more thing. I'll just plant this seed also. When I was working with my own Day of Atonement, my own asking for that radiance to move through me, what came to me wasn't go be a teacher or quit your job or something specific like that. What came to me was generous, loving support from my own heart. And here's what it said. You have no idea how experienced, how credentialed, how whole and full you are already. You do not need any more school. You do not need a research project. You need only this work. This is your research project. So you can hear the gentle holding of that deep heart, that aspect of our own consciousness that loves us unconditionally. It's like a satellite with that higher self. They work together to love you up, to support you in all the ways that you might not be the one you know as you, the one who thinks you have to work harder, work smarter, work longer, might not be allowing you to hear. So you need to hear both voices. Anyway, I welcome your comments. I see some coming in. I have about 3 minutes left, so I'll respond to it, to what you're writing. Let me see who's here. Hi, Liz. Hey, Trina. I'm reading Liz's comment. Something different in the tent this week was that I saw drawers, open drawers with things inside of them, notebooks, papers, and was told that they were meant for everyone. See, that's interesting, isn't it? Everyone in the tent has their own drawer. So Liz is receiving guidance for all of us. This is what I mean when I say we're all wisdom keepers for each other. Liz is stepping into the teacher role, right? The wisdom leader role here. And I really want to encourage that. If you receive guidance that feels like it's for others, share it, offer it. This is part of the service of the whole heart and soul working together. And it's part of the work of our time. This is why we come into these intentional, soul-led, joy-led communities, so that we can practice stepping into these leadership roles here, and then we can take that practice out into our real lives. Not that this isn't real life. It sure is. But into our everyday lives, at work, at school, at home. Right? So I'm just going to finish reading what Liz wrote. Everyone in the tent has their own drawer, and the drawers kept showing up through the meditation, but those were my own. So she saw that sort of peace for everyone, and then she also kept receiving more wisdom for herself. So this recording is going to end in a few seconds, but I'm going to stay and read your comments as we move on. Okay. Thank you for being here. This was lovely. Let's do it again next week.